All right, welcome back. It is time for us to have a look at what is being reported on the newspapers. My name is Beatrice Nudi.
And my name is George Gishuru, and we start off with the Standard, and they go with the headline, paralysis as Gen Zs turn heat on counties now. No let up. At least 23 governors felt the wrath of youth protesters when the residents took to the streets to demand accountability and good governance from the county bosses. Some leaders sought the protection of private guards and supporters wielding rungus. But these were disarmed and the message got home. It's an exclusive story on page 5, and there is a very troubling photo there on the front page of a disabled protester flees from a cloud of tear gas along Kenyatta Avenue in Nakuru City yesterday, and it was in the same Nakuru County city where a journalist with MediaMax, a lady, she was shot on her leg yesterday as demonstrations took center stage in the area. And in total, 23 counties were affected by the Gen Z protests from Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Kakamega, Homa Bay, Kilifi, Migori, Baringo, Kericho, Narok, Siaya, Nyeri, Nairobi, Meru, Embu, Turkana, Nyamira, Kisii, Machakos, Trans Nzoia, Makueni, Kajiado, and Taita Taveta. You can read that story on page 5. Still on the front page, they are saying, this is the cabinet we want, Kenyans tell Ruto. Whereas successive regimes have ignored Chapter 6 of the Constitution when it comes to the statecraft, a majority Kenyans want it to be the pillar of the next executive. Issues such as selfless service, face of Kenya, meritocracy, they say, should be considered in the appointment. Should cronyism, nepotism be factored, then the populace will reject the appointees. And the pledges the president has made, he has promised to form a cabinet that is broad-based and one that will unite the country. He has said that those who will serve in the executive will be men and women dedicated to service and have the country's interest at heart. He has also promised to rein in on corrupt officials in government and trim the number of advisors on top of banning Harambes. So those are the promises of the president, and then again you have what the Kenyans are saying they want in the next cabinet. I hope that we will be able to see all those things so that the situation is contained. Lawyer now says Kware murders suspect was forced to confess. I'm telling you, this Kenya of ours. Collins Jumaisa Halisia will be remanded for 30 days. His alleged relatives in Vihiga say they do not know a person by the DCI's given name. So you can read that story on page 3, even as more bodies were retrieved yesterday in the same quarry. Read that also on page number 3. Fear, anxiety at county offices as youth turn heat on governors. You can read that as well. Gen Zs occupy Ruto's backyard despite police using brute force. They marched to Turkana, Baringo, Kericho, Nyandarua, and Narok County headquarters. 2 protesters sustained injuries as police fired live ammunition and lobbed tear gas. Even as we see Gen Z goons clash in Kakamega and in Kericho. You can read that also inside the paper. Ruto's emerging half-truths on numbers and what he must do. The Gen Z protest continues. I also see on page 10, counties set to lose 20 billion if Senate approves Ruto's proposal. President wants shareable revenue reduced from 400 billion shillings to 380 billion shillings. And many senators have criticized the move and promised to shoot it down when it is tabled. Read that on page 10. And 15 officers in Indian's abduction case protest. Police officers accuse court of being used to delay their release on bail. DPP has now approved fresh charges of murder instead of abduction. Wow, it's a story you can read on page number 11 inside the Standard. As we peruse inside and go to the county section, traditional practices help resolve modern land disputes. Alternative justice system aims to alleviate court backlogs by settling conflicts outside formal courtrooms. In patriarchal societies such as Maasai, where women face challenges in property ownership, the alternative justice system has helped a lot. And staff with fake certificates to face full law. More than 25 Migori County staff who submitted their resignation letters after being found with fake academic certificates are not off the hook yet. What will happen to them? Read that on page 16.
Yeah.
Then the enterprise pullout, building a startup ecosystem, key lessons from Israel, how artist is crafting new life with pencil drawings, what is the right punishment for too big to fail Boeing. It's on the enterprise pullout, and you can read it inside the Standard. I also see Africa's tops global road death rates, with pedestrians, cyclists worst hit. NTSA says 2,407 people have died on the roads this year. PSA's plans underway to establish trauma registry. You can read that on page 17. We have a pictorial. On pages 18 and 19, that is a spread on pages 18 and 19. And this is the Gen Z protest, death and destruction as Kenyans demand good governance, protest against the new taxes. And you can see all those photos from across the country of what was happening yesterday. This is a very interesting one on the far right top corner of a protester taking a selfie with police officers at Kisii town during the anti-government protest yesterday. Read that on page, you can, yes, you can be able to get that on pages 18 and 19. On business section, Murkomen's last act burdens Kenyans with high pump prices. That was the last act of CS Murkomen. Statement by the former CS has been interpreted as the government being mischievous. State tinkered with the pump price but used subsidies to reduce prices. I don't know why they're using subsidies. Instead of using the subsidies, why don't you just stop adding the taxes?
Yeah.
You know, it's as simple as that, because the 8 bob that they added on top of the fuel maintenance levy is now the same amount they are going to cushion Kenyans against. So, but anyway, they are the wise men and women.
We are just observing.
Yeah, just but
from
observing.
A distance.
The back page of the Standard, it's the sports page, and they're saying end of the road for England's man of near misses. Gareth Southgate transformed the English team into a consistent force after decades of underachievement. He leaves job as second the most successful manager, but fails to win a major trophy for England, which has been waiting since the 1966 World Cup win. And after 8 years in charge, he has decided it's time for him to call it a day as the England boss. And Mbappe says dream has come true at Real unveiling. He was unveiled yesterday officially as a Real Madrid player, telling 80,000 fans, my dream has come true. And that is Kylian Mbappe. Omanyala vows he will not feel games heat like it was in Tokyo. He flopped in the last Olympics and vows to assert himself in a few weeks. He says he has prepared himself and will not develop cold feet. You can read that on page 30. Rift Valley Schools games set to kick off amidst high expectations. The games begin today in Bomet. A number of new entrants have excited the crowd. You can read that on page 30 and 31 inside the Standard. And Copa America, the party that almost ended in a tragedy. Poor pitches, half-empty stadiums and crowd trouble spoils sport for America's passion. And tournament hosted by US criticized as near failure amid concerns for 2026 World Cup. And of course, Copa America, Lionel Messi and Argentina successfully defended their crown. That is what is being reported inside the Standard.
Okay, and now coming to the Daily Nation, quite artistic is how they have, made the top page to be, as you can see on your screen. And this is the number The landmark death toll crossed yesterday. Sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, friends and loved ones killed since the start of the anti-government protest a month ago. And here, most of the deaths have been attributed to use of excessive force by police in dealing with the largely youthful protesters. And according to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, KNCHR, the numbers have been piling up since June 18th, when the provisions of the Finance Bill 2024 stirred up anger across the country. And this is a story on pages 4, 5, 6, 7, and also 8. And it's really, really unfortunate. And, you know, these numbers have actually been spread out in the many counties where protests have been going on. And going to page 8 here, I see here a question: who really is behind the deadly protests? Still on that debate, there have been contradicting claims from the state on financiers of the demos. Of course, yesterday we talked about the president at first blaming the opposition. Then it came down yesterday. I think we highlighted the non-governmental organizations. There was Ford Kenya at some point. So there's just a lot of conversations around the same. But looking also at page 6, I see running battles, clouds of tear gas and arrests as youth-led protests resume. And a man displays spent bullet cartridges in Karatina town. They are holding so many bullet cartridges that missed people per se, because they're just shot in the air, and some of them can just be stray bullets and land on just anyone. And it's really, really unfortunate, because the same is also being seen. Angry youth display a spent cartridge after police fired live bullets at them during anti-government protests in Nakuru City just yesterday. And I see here that 1974 is the year one would end up in if they were to go back a year for every life lost. So it's very, very unfortunate. I see the commission shall pursue command responsibility for all documented instances of police brutality and also excesses. And just coming into, the details of these deaths that have been happening, I see here in a statement yesterday by KNCHR, say 21 of the dead are from Nairobi. So 21 has the biggest number. Nairobi has the biggest number of the protesters who have passed on. Almost half of the total. And I see here following is Nakuru with 3 people, Laikipia 2, Narok 1, Kajiado 3, Uasin Gishu 4, Kakamega 2, Kisumu 3, Kisii 1, Mombasa 3, Siaya 1, Kiambu 1, Nandi 1, Embu 1, Homa Bay, and Nyeri 1 respectively. And I see here now, after the letter Z comes L, the Roman numeral for 50, L for loss, the senseless loss of life, L for lack of coordination by the security agencies that led to more deaths, L for loaded guns that were pointed at unarmed protesters, L for lies that the government officials have been spreading. Look at that feature story that is on page 4, well elaborated, and it's really, really sad and unfortunate. You tend to ask yourself why, because we are seeing here even a journalist, Media Max journalist Catherine Wanjiri Kariuki, here writhing in pain after she was shot by police on her thigh leg, and it's really, really unfortunate. And I see here tear gas canister explodes next to a boda rider on Moi Avenue, Nairobi, and this was just yesterday. So the story is well highlighted. You can look at it on the Daily Nation. And just looking at what is being reported on page 2 here is the story that we are just following up on. Collins, I was tortured to confess to quarry killings. So this is what is coming up. I see here lawyer John Degwa here saying confessing in private is different from confessing in court. And you have seen what the police have done by making all sorts of allegations. Collins says here, I was tortured to confess to quarry killings. Police had earlier said that the suspect had confessed to killing a total of 42 women. Still on this story, a lot of confusion still on the same. And I see here that police believe the accused committed the murders between 2022 and July 11th and dumped his victims' bodies at the discusses the quarry in Mukuru kwa Njenga and Bakasi South constituency. And of course, we will continue to follow up on the same. But of course, there's a lot of doubts. People saying, could this be just one of these staged things, But I see here, page 3, police have so far arrested 2 suspects and are looking for a third one to assist them with the probe. Police probe Nakuru student AA Aileen's death. She was found dead near the Ever-Ready roundabout along the Nakuru-Eldoret highway on Sunday morning. Very, very sad. And I see here currently we have 2 suspects in custody and have launched an investigation into the incidents. We are in pursuit of the other suspect. You know, our condolences go to these families. And maybe coming here, I've seen the pullout, which has something very interesting, and I think we actually touched on it earlier on. I see here is why people seem to get better just before they die. I see why do sick people seem to recover just before dying. This is a feature that has been well elaborated in the DN2 page 2, because I think there are some cases, and even, you know, the late Bishop Alan Kuna, what was going on is that he was actually cancer free, but later on something happened, and, you know, just a year ago he was actually very much okay. But I see here it is well explained that this is actually something that happens in many situations whereby there's a surge that comes up immediately after the healing, or some days or just some months afterwards. So you can look at that story on page 2 of the DN2, and that is on the Daily Nation. And going to the back page, I see NYS cannot account for over 1 billion shillings. Audit reveals irregularities. Service found to have more senior staff than what is allowed. Projects worth hundreds of millions of shillings remain incomplete despite payments. A story on the back page. Look into it. And going to the sports, I see here 1:42.66 at 21 years. Kidali quietly plotting for Paris. His coach Nakil tips him to do well, saying the former sprinter has what it takes to win gold. This is on the Paris Olympic that just have 9 days to go right now. And on page 30, Kenyan champions Gor turn to Tanzania for CAF home matches. Look at that story on page 30. And that's it for the Daily Nation.
Business Daily quickly. Ruto's NSC plan hit as private investors buy out top firms. Bamburi Cement, the latest target for delisting. President promised 5 to 10 IPOs by December 2023. You can read that. Businesses shut amid fresh deadly protests. And there is a picture there of a protester displaying a Kenyan flag next to a fire on Tomboya Street in Nairobi yesterday. You read that as well. Fertilizer subsidy gets extra 2.5 billion shillings in mini budget. Farmers are among the few winners in the first supplementary budget of the financial year 2024-25 after Treasury allocated an additional 2.5 billion to the fertilizer subsidy program. And a third of businesses expect tough runs. 1 in 3 businesses in Kenya expects a financially straining quarter, exacerbated by expensive loans and unfavorable regulations. A new survey has revealed. You can read that inside the Business Daily this morning. And there is a quote here by Nelson Karumba and Sylvia Kithinji, noting Kenya's conservation needs and debt profile. The time is ripe for a debt to nature swap consideration. It's on page 9. Read that inside the Business Daily, and that is what is being reported in the dailies this morning. Taifa Leo anasema kumbe mambo bado. Baada ya hali ya utulivu ya siku kadhaa, vijana wa Gen Z wamwagika barabara za miji tofauti kwa maandamano. Kumbe mambo bado.
Kumbe mambo bado. Unajua kulikuwa na hali ya utulivu. Last week hapo hakukuwa na mambo yote, sijui maandamano, lakini kumbe mambo bado.
Ndio hivyo, Taifa Leo wameweka pale na picha waandamanaji kidogo wakikimbia. Ni hali katika gazeti la Taifa Leo. And you can grab your favorite copy of your daily, get to see what's being reported. We continue to say as believers, ours is even higher, that yes, we continue also to pray and remember the leadership from the top to the bottom and all the sectors of this economy for the prosperity and the well-being of our nation.
Absolutely. And now will be an ideal time for us to have a look at the video of the day.
the dark.